Maybe I should unmute myself. That may be a good idea. Probably a good idea. Silent intros. Professional, guys. I'm a professional on this kind of thing. Welcome to the Astropub. My name is Paul Berserker01 Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender here at the Astropub. Your professor at Galactic historian, the host of the Captain's Table, and we just hanging out here in the office. For those of you who've never seen the office hours before, this is a live stream done live on Twitch and YouTube simultaneously. Simultaneously. And it's mostly about lore of Star Citizen, but it's also just general discussions of Star Citizen and hanging out for about, 2 hours or so. So we talk about lore live, and we also talk about some other stuff, and just kind of more freeform back and forth. It is also my birthday. So I am 34 years old, which seems like a lot. I know it's not, but it seems like a lot. Oh, dang, Broken. Dang, son. Gifting 10 gift subs on Twitch. That's nuts. Thank you so much for all those subs, my man. Oh, jeez. Thank you so much, my man. Toller with the gift subs. After subscribing for 2 months, and Broken Sinister subscribing for 6 months, and Max for 25 months. Y'all trying to break me, aren't you? This is a break Paul tonight. Am I invested in Bitcoin? No. It's something I've thought about in the past. Not something I want to do right now. I don't have enough cash to, but I'm a wary investor. I never like investing in short-term stuff, and I feel like Bitcoin is best done short-term. Yes, I know there will be highs and there will be lows, but it'll always go up. It's like kinda. I'm pretty sure that the Bitcoin will eventually crash again, not maybe to zero, but markets always fluctuate. Even Bitcoin, it can't go up forever. So the issue is, how far do you ride before you hop off? That's any market. I'm not taking shots tonight, no. Thank you, Toller, and thank you, Broken, again, for all those ridiculous subs. Ionic, thank you so much for that gifting sub to Captain Ken. We're not doing dancing because the dance music is sort of... It depends. Like, on Twitch, it doesn't get muted, but on YouTube, it gets flagged. I try to keep it as advertiser-friendly as possible, because if I do that, then YouTube is more likely to promote it. And while I'd love to give you guys ad-free content, YouTube literally will prevent content that's not monetized from being promoted. They just won't promote it. And I don't have enough of a base of influence. I'm not Board Gamer with 100,000 subs, where it can be super easy on YouTube. And thank you guys all for the birthday wishes. Yet. I'll give you guys all beers. All of the beers, because you guys are here and you guys have been super generous. There we go. There's all the beers for my birthday. I give you stuff. God damn. All right. I do, and that's the key though. Is what's important is, and this is I'll say this before we get started, which is important. I think is an important balance. I know there are a lot of people out there who feel like content creators should make stuff for the fun of it, and that's it. and that's the most important thing. And I agree, enjoyment is fun. But for someone like me who does this as kind of like a side hobby, but also it acts like a side business, I have to pay enough taxes for it that it does. That it's more of a I have to be careful about what I choose when I do what I do, when I do it, how I do it, that kind of thing. And so, like, I'll look at my numbers. I will look at how people, how many views something is getting versus another thing. And I'll say that I have to be more choosy about some stuff. Thank you, Toller. So, like, when I made a comment in the last Galactic Historian that, like, the event videos don't get a lot of views, and they don't. They usually get plenty of views. It's just, like, for instance, the holiday, the Day of the Vara video that I did, it still doesn't have 1,000 views, which is still a ton more than some people get. I get that, but compared to other views released around the same time, or other videos released around the same time that are lore videos from me, it got bombed. The fact that it still doesn't have 1,000 views, and it's been released for over 4 months now, is saying that it doesn't get a lot of people don't care. And so as a result, I got to be strategic about what I do and how I release stuff. So when I say stuff like that, don't take it as that I only care about views, or I only care about this kind of stuff, which I think can come up sometimes. It's more that I like what I do, but I have to be careful about how I do it and when I do it. So that also comes to do with a lot of other stuff. Exactly. The thing is, Toller, is like, you're a content creator, and like most content creators will get that, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people just see, like, I put an ad on something and sell out. I haven't really seen that. It does happen every time when YouTube is like, oh, you didn't tell me how many ads I can put in the middle. Then I'm going to put all of the ads in the middle. One ad every 3 minutes, which is not me. It's just YouTube being greedy as F. But I wanted to kind of, like, I really haven't seen a lot of that, but I wanted to kind of, like, highlight that, because I did see some people be like, are you not going to make Galactic Historian videos anymore? Like, because I said, like, that these videos don't do very well. And then the last Galactic Historian, it's like, no, I still am. It's just, I have to do other things as well, which is important. Hey, Helio Wolf, Python Blender, Caper, Tinbot, Scotty, welcome. So you don't see ads. Yeah, I figure that most people either pay YouTube to not see ads, or just, have ad blockers. They're free, and they're not hard to find. Let's see. Break Paul for his birthday. Happy birthday. Thank you guys for all those bits as well. There. OG Lockpin. Choo-choos. That's nuts, guys. Nuts. Absolutely nuts. All right. So let's talk about the thumbnail first. Because for those guys who aren't watching this on YouTube, I made a very eye-catching thumbnail. It's not meant as a clickbait. Since we're not going to talk about it, we will definitely talk about the fall of the tyrannical measures, because I'm doing a lot of research on it, specifically because I am doing a video, and this video is going to be a very long video. And I might have to turn it into a video similar to the video on the Jumptown Wars, a similar style, at least. But AFK Arena ad, yeah. Thank you, man. So, but as a result of me doing a lot of that information, a lot of that research, I have a lot of information, and I'd like to talk to you guys because a lot of people have asked. So, Ionic, I think you're the one who asked me specifically to. You asked me specifically to do more lecture videos. And I would like to hear this. Please type in the comments below or in chat. Would you like to see more lecture videos? Because I would do them like this, where I'd record it while I was live streaming. And so I was still live streaming while I was doing the content. So, but it was more of me talking to the camera and having stuff in the background and being kind of like I would do a lecture in a classroom where it's... you got a PowerPoint or some visual aid, and then talking and kind of walking through steps and such like that. So, let me know if you want to see those kind of things in the comments or in chat. By Rage Shadow Hedges, yeah. I don't joke. I've actually been sponsored streams by Rage Shadow Legends in the past. Rage Shadow Legends. So let's get on with the fall of the Mezzers, the end of the Mezzer regime. Let's put on some music in the background. That's not Utho. Love Utho, but he gets a little too epic sometimes. Stations. Chill. All right. So let me get my timeline ready. Let me pull up my script for this one, because this one I actually wrote a script, not for this section, but I wrote the script for the actual episode, which is not done yet, but there we go. I didn't put any dates on this. I'm going to have to go back and add some dates here. All right. So, I'm going to do a bit. There's some content warning for this, just because there is, I think I've already talked about Anthony Tanaka, but content warning for death of a child, and a lot of, like, serious trauma. Child abuse, essentially, in the lore. But... where is Ulysses Messer? Just do a quick Google for the timeline for that. So, first we have to understand about the last couple of Mezzers. The first one we're going to talk about is Galer Mezzer, who is Mezzer the Ninth. Galer Mezzer the Ninth, assumed his role. He was born in 2666 and assumed his role in 2715. His older brother Samuel Mezzer died due to a chronic illness. He was disinherited by his mother in favor of... and Galer was actually... or due to a chronic illness that Galer had, he was disinherited by his mother in favor of his older brother, Samuel Mezzer. His health was frail. His death was expected to happen sometime before his 20th birthday. Following the assassination of his brother in 2715, Galer ascends to become the Imperator and reign for over 36 years. So we're talking about a very frail, weak boy who had many health issues, who was not expected to live past his 20th birthday. We're talking about 2715 here, by the way, guys. We're talking about a Mezzer. We're not talking about, 17th century Europe. We're talking about super future medicine. So whatever happened to him was really messed up. He renamed, his big thing was architecture. He started to redesign architecture was his big focus. He renamed the UEC to Imperials, so some people still refer to him as Imperials or Imp credits, or Imps in the UEE, but that was the slang term for it. And he, when he was dying, he of his illness, which is a degenerative bone illness, he passed his reign on to his nephew, Ulysses Messer, as his successor. I'm looking through some of this wiki real quickly. 2743, he authorized the permit for the terraforming of Lear 2. In an effort to fund his legacy, a complete foundational redesign of Meta Baroque of the UEE government buildings. The winning bid was so high that many assumed it was a mistake. Turns out it wasn't. I believe it was owned by a company he owned himself. So Gaylor managed to live on until he was 85. He died in 2751, and upon which Ulysses assumed the throne. Now, Ulysses reigned as the High Secretary in the Senate. He was appointed High Secretary in the Senate for most of the time Gaylor Messer was in office, which means that he effectively ran the government for most of his uncle's career, or ran the Senate. So he had a lot of experience in politics. He understood people in the Senate. He understood how things would work, and he was very good at talking to the elites, but terrible at anything else. He raised taxes and stripped environmental protections, deregulated markets, eliminated the minimum wage, expanded police powers, and treason laws were totally rewritten. And also, he gave the minimum working age was reduced to 10. So when he was the High Secretary and later when he became Imperator, he realized that the people were not happy. By this point, we're talking about the 10th Messer to have reigned since 2546, 47. So we're talking about several hundred years of Messer rule. Each Messer had become worse and worse in terms of control. The Messer dynasty, and maybe I should go back and even talk about what the Messer dynasty was. For those of you who don't know, a very basic idea, Ivar Messer was a war hero of the First Tavarn War, then used a false flag bombing attack on the UPE to promote his own idea of what's called the First Citizen, which is the prelude to the Imperator, which he then created as he reformatted the UPE into the UEE. So the United Planets of Earth to the United Empire of Earth, with him as the sole ruler. He passed that along to his daughter, who then passed along to her son, but then her son also died. So her brother took over, and I think it might have been, he passed along to his son, whose then daughter, it might have been like that. But essentially, there was a lot of backstabbing, a lot of Messers killing each other for the throne. And as time went on, people began to, they were already upset from the Messer regime from the outset, but the Messers continued to crack down hard on any dissent. And one of the major things was that Terra was gaining in power and influence, and it was chafing at the Messers' rule because the Messers were demanding things from the Terrans, who were like, "No, we control all of these trade lanes. You move the capital to Terra, maybe we'll talk." And the Imperator was just constantly like, "No, no, no, no." So, and the best way to understand how the Messers kept power was both brutal rule by police violence, but also by constant xenophobia. Essentially, a constant fear of a war with the Xi'an overshadowed the entirety of the Messer regime. There was always a fear that the Xi'an would attack unprovoked into the UEE space. So xenophobia was like the main tool that the Messers used to keep power. So this is the 10th Mezzer, 200 years after Ivar was alive. 200 plus. Let me do the quick maths. I'm terrible at quick maths. Yeah, almost exactly 200 years after Ivar was alive. One second. Mike asks, would you consider starting a series leveraging the Arc star map and talking about a group of systems per episode and they're relevant to lore? I propose this on Inforunners to include UX and Algorithm. That might be a good one to do with Algorithm and execute more than my own channel. We could probably do something like that, Mike, for sure. You know, adding things like theory crafting for gameplay and such. Possibly. I think that'll probably be a good idea coming up soon, now that we're probably going to see more systems. But we'll talk about that here in a bit. Mezzer Prime, leader of the autocrats. Yeah. Did I leave the giveaway thing up? No, it should be off. All right. He was the first and only Prime Citizen. Yeah, so he started the Prime Citizen. Ivar started the Prime Citizen role, but then as part of the UPE, and then after the Prime Citizen essentially gained all the power, he then reformatted the entire government to what he called the UEE, which was essentially the UPE, but with all the power invested into the Imperator, which is the new power that he did afterwards. So, yeah, he's the first and only Prime Citizen, and then completely rewrote the laws and created a brand new system of government. So, Ulysses Mezzer the 10th. He is obsessed with his uncle's work, which was buildings. And he was a terrible manager of state in general. Like, he just was not very good. And so he had to do everything he could to keep money flowing in and keep the lives of those allies he had high, which was why he raised taxes, reduced environmental protections, completely reduced the minimum wage, expanded police powers, completely rewrote treason laws so he can do what he wanted to, and deregulated the markets. All which are great for people who have a lot of money, not so good for the average person, which again made him look bad in the public eye. So by 2778, he realized that he needed to do something because the population was just getting angry. Now let me look up what happened. So what was that date? Okay. And I'm sure the real reason why this happened, the way he realized this, was that all these changes happened shortly after the death of Galer and the rise to power of Ulysses. 6 years after Ulysses' rise to power, we have the incident of Anthony Tanaka. In Newcastle, the city of Newcastle, on the planet of Berea, in the Magnus system, Anthony Tanaka was essentially a child laborer. He was a child laborer, working to clean scrubbers for munitions plants. He was 7 when he started working, and by the time he I'm trying to look at exactly his age. He would have been 10 in 2755. He was 12. So he was 7 when he started working at the plant that he was eventually killed at. So he had been working there for almost his entire life. And had been working to help repair and clean scrubbers for these munition plants on Berea. Conditions got significantly worse after Lane Corpos, who was I believe one of the relatives of, I think he was the brother-in-law of Ulysses, was given power over the Magnus system, and basically Lane, all that Corpos cared about, all he cared about was efficiency. He wanted more guns out of there as much as possible. He wanted to do what he could to please his father-in-law. His father-in-law or his brother-in-law, one of the two. And things got worse. One of the things that the Corpos brought was a group of advocacy agents who were called the Guard. So the Guard were a group of advocacy agents who were personal protection for Lane Corpos, but they were also the managers of the plants on the factory. So they would essentially be assigned to a factory to ensure that the efficiency is high enough. They were the hand of Lane Corpos. One day in December, the 3rd of December, 2757, Anthony Tanaka gets off shift. He's about to head back when his plant manager, one of the members of the Guard, and for those of you who don't know who the advocacy are, they're basically like the federal police of the UEE. One of the members of the Guard stops him and tells him that one of his coworkers is in critical condition because of anaphylactic shock. Something like that, yeah. And this caused Anthony Tanaka to just snap. And he did what any 12-year-old would do under high-stress situations. He had a temper tantrum, screaming, no, 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 no. No, 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 over and over and over again. Making a big scene inside this plant in front of the Guard, the member of the Guard. The Guard then, in order to shut up Anthony and to make a point because he felt like he was being belittled, pulled out his sidearm and shot the kid dead on the floor of the factory floor. Now, what makes this different from probably thousands, if not millions, of similar incidents that had happened throughout Mezer's regime was that there were security cameras in this place, and they caught it all. Somebody got the footage and put it out on Spectrum. Everyone in the Empire saw this footage. This is like literally 6 years after Ulysses has taken office. So tensions are running a little high in the UEE, just to say the least. A dust stream. So Ulysses is doing his best to try to please the masses. And he thinks what he can do this is by doing monumental architecture. He builds giant stadiums, huge arenas, public works projects. He's doing these massive mega scale things for entire planets. And it's bankrupting the Empire. Because he's trying to do this to please people, and all it's doing is causing higher taxes and getting people to get more angry. So Ulysses has two kids. Livia and... We're down here. Linton. Not Livia. Just look at the names, look at my stuff. Fiona and Linton. Fiona was, I think, 12 when the coup happened, but Linton was a little older. Linton was the older child, and he wanted to become Imperator. So he worked with his sister, specifically so, because they felt that their father was basically pissing away their inheritance. And Linton wanted to be able to rule and fix the problems that his father had created. So, let's look at the exact date. August 12th, 2781. He arrives on Angeli in the Croshaw system. There, he's there to unveil Kanos Stadium, which is his latest project to the world. It was his biggest legacy. And on his way to the stadium, he passes by a young boy on the shoulders of his father. The young boy, let me look up his name again. I think I actually put it down here somewhere. Auguste Dunlow. Auguste Dunlow watches Ulysses pass through the city. He's got the day off from work, or he has the day off from school, and his father is there because he has the day off of work, because this is supposed to be a monumental occasion. And then Linton springs his trap. You see, Linton had been spending his days courting the military and the senators to get their support for his rule, while Fiona had been given the task of meeting with rebel groups. Groups had always been around since the beginning of the Measures, but were now becoming more stronger because of the Anthony Tanaka incident. These forces were then given professional training by UEE insurgent, like essentially Green Beret, the equivalent of the UEE Green Beret, probably Marines forces, and given and equipped by the UEE specifically to help kill Ulysses. These rebels bombed Kano Stadium before Ulysses could arrive, right when his convoy was going through a dangerous part of town. And at that dangerous part of town, they were intercepted by UEE uniformed military forces, who then opened fire on Ulysses and his private guard. It became pretty obvious pretty quickly to Ulysses that his son had staged a coup and took his own life rather than be captured by his son. Now, in the chaos, there was reportedly probably days of fighting in the streets afterwards between Ulysses' forces and Linton's forces. In the fighting and the initial explosion of the stadium killed Auguste Dunlow's mother. The fighting after the fact grievously wounded his father, who barely hung on to life, and August had to quit school in order to find a job to help pay for the medical bills to save his father. But he was 12. He couldn't really make a lot of money. So eventually, and they didn't have a house because their house was destroyed in the fighting between the two forces. So it wasn't too long after the event that his father would pass away as well, leaving August an orphan on the streets of Angeli, which are pretty mean streets. He ended up getting picked up by Angeli's Angels, which was an organization that was designed to save orphans and lost children, and would eventually get an education, be shown to be a bright student, and go on to specifically lead a faction of anti-Mezzer radicals on the planet of Angeli, or in Angeli, in the Crossaw system. You know, when the current leader of the Empire murders your family, you might kind of go Batman on them. And for those of you who don't know, as I just said before, Auguste Dunlow is the founder of Crusader Industries. crazy story. So Linton has power. He then continues to bungle everything in sight, just like his father before him and his great uncle before him. What happens is a classic case of how imperial and tyrannical forces eventually end up. All it takes is a couple of a string of real bad leaders who don't know what they're doing, and people start realizing they can do it better than you. So the first thing he did is hire his cousin, Ellis Ntemi, as his personal advisor. Ntemi had shares in a shady terraforming corporation. This shady terraforming corporation would cause the downfall of the Mezzers. But let's continue on from that. Unbeknownst to Linton and any of the Mezzers, Terrence Akiri, who is a senator from Terra, which is, again, in Star Citizen, it's its own planet, its own system. He was a senator from Terra, had been secretly meeting with the Xi'an, the Emperor of the Xi'an himself, Emperor Krei. Between the two, they negotiated a ceasefire, a peace accords, at least initial peace accords. Terrence Akiri shows up on the Senate floor with the signed treaty in hand, signed by the Emperor of the Xi'an, and calls for a vote on the Senate floor for ratification. It passes by one vote. So, by UEE law, it has passed the Senate. It is now up to the Imperator to decide if it's legit or not. Remember, the Mezzers have spent their entire careers using the threat of the Xi'an as a cudgel to keep the people in line. So, what does Linton do? He doesn't sign it. He refuses to sign it. He refuses to even consider it. So, for a recap, Linton has pissed off the entire people of Angeli. Probably created more rebels. Definitely created more rebels in the process. Gave rebels tools and training to learn how to take on and undermine governments and government programs. By the way, he did try to kill all the rebels after he took power, but, when you train people to be in subterfuge, they tend to be pretty good at avoiding the stuff that you train them to avoid. So, this is causing more problems. And it's causing more unrest. Now, it gets worse. So, let me look at the actual day. Okay, 2791, the Farron system. The Farron system is not a well-populated system. It's still... there's still definitely like populations, but there's a moon in the Farron system which is populated outside of UEE control. The UEE Navy, under the orders from the Mezzer regime and the Advocacy, order the 78th Squadron to bomb what they believe is a terrorist training location on the moon. Now, in order to deal with this terrorist training location, they decided they were going to load these bombers with antimatter torpedoes. An entire flight of bombers with antimatter torpedoes. Essentially, they're going to take this moon of Farron and destroy it with just sheer bombardment power. The Thundering Thorshoes, the 78th Squadron, showed up at the system. They did some initial scans. Took them a long time to get there because it's a long way away. And their scans continue to come back that they showed no signs of weapons fire, anything that would indicate a training facility for terrorists, which was what they were told. And as they got closer, the scans got more clear, and all they could see was an agricultural colony on this moon with not even a ship. There was not even ships in the region. So the commander of the flight called in and demanded the immediate surrender of the entire garrison. And the person in charge on the moon came back and said, "We're a refugee colony. We just want to be left alone. We don't have any guns. We have nothing. Please don't kill us." And it became pretty clear to the entire squadron that they were about to commit a war crime and, kill a bunch of civilians. So they were ordered. They called back to base. They said, "You got your intelligence is wrong. These are just refugees. There's no weapons here. There's no training here. What are you talking about?" And the admiral in charge said, "You better fire those damn torpedoes." So the commander of the squadron did fire the torpedoes at an asteroid on the other side of the moon. So the people of Farron watched as these torpedoes were launched, flew harmlessly over their colony, and detonated with an incredible blast far enough away that it did nothing. They returned to base knowing they were going to be court-martialed because they didn't want to murder civilians. They arrived at base. The officers were arrested, and all of them were arrested. The enlisted men were confined to their quarters, and the officers were arrested and thrown into jail. This is 2791. Okay, so we have an active insurrection which is going on inside the regime. The empire is broke and running out of money, and is no one is happy. The leaders and the senators have offered an option to end the war with the Xi'an, which the Imperator explicitly stopped. So he's intentionally trying to provoke the Xi'an, so you don't know what he's capable of. And the military is literally abandoning their post, I don't know what the actual term for it is. They're refusing to obey orders. So they're going AWOL. The Meza regime isn't looking good right now in 2791. So all it would take is a spark. And that spark happened because Fiona Mezer, the sister of Linton Mezer, has been sitting in the background watching her brother do exactly the same thing, if not worse, than their father had done. And so she did what any good Mezer does. She started to find those people who her brother tried to kill, rearm them, retrain them, and get them to do the job that she wants them to. She starts working with the rebels to try to overthrow her brother, hoping that if she can get the rebels to do her job for her, she could step into the power vacuum after her brother was dead. Here's the problem. They played her. They played her like a fiddle. She manages to get footage from her cousin's shady terraforming company. Of this terraforming company, terraforming a world with sentient creatures on it. A sentient alien race. And this is footage of these creatures gasping for air and huddling with their young and in groups and dying en masse as the atmosphere is changing around them. It is horrific footage. Absolutely atrocious. Committing genocide on an entire species. The group who took it called themselves the Tide. They broadcasted this message throughout the entirety of the spectrum. All of spectrum is like the internet in the Star Citizen universe. So all over the Empire, every single person has seen this. This is the straw that breaks the camel's back. The entire Empire erupts into protests. Protests are going on in every single location. Shortly before this, Auguste Dunlo had been had quickly became a leader in the anti-Mezer factions in politics in Angeli. And before all of this had went down, there was a big protest going on, I think, in Terra, and he was scheduled to go onto a flight, but he actually contracted the flu, and so was down, was going to catch the next flight out. And when he contracted the flu, it saved his life because someone put a bomb on the shuttle and killed all of the protesters on that shuttle, which was intended for August. So he realized this, and some of his fellow rebels realized this as well, and smuggled him into Xi'an space, where he could be, kind of saved and then brought back. So in the midst of this confusion, with the Tide releasing this message, many expatriate UEE people, including Auguste Dunlo, are brought back into the UEE to help foment rebellion and protests across the UEE. What happens next is a massacre on a planet, which I'm not going to name because it's actually not in the universe that I can see, but there was a named planet. But on a planet, there was a protest. The UEE army is called out. They shoot everybody at the protest. But it's all caught on video. And even though the UEE tries to shut down all the communications, the rebels had used the information that Fiona had given them to be able to basically piggyback all the messages for in military communications and basically still communicate with one another throughout all these systems. So this footage leaks out again to the entirety of the Empire. At this point, the UEE descends into civil war. The Senate takes action, and the leader of the Senate, or the kind of leader who rises from the Senate, is Aaron Toy. A lot of this stuff is murky, but the best guess is that Aaron Toy leads a group of loyalist UEE military, probably militia, some rebel forces, maybe some just veterans, citizens, onto the palace of the Imperator. And in the fight that ensues, Linton Mezer is killed. Fiona disappears. We don't know where Fiona goes. But in 2792, the UEE is on specifically May the 3rd, 2792. The UEE, the last Mezer officially comes to an end. The Mezer regime comes to an end. And Aaron Toy begins with the work of the Senate and the various members that were left, tries to rebuild the system. And I'm going to go into what I think actually happens as well in the pickup here in a bit, but I wanted to go through all of this stuff. The camel was Fiona all along. Yeah. And people think us Tavaran are bad. Oh, 100% I believe the UE can be destroyed. Don't toy with me. Yeah, space weather will be a thing. I would believe that's somewhat the idea. Go out and do science. Oh, I really hope Ark and Tyak will have player-based gameplay, i.e. exploration. Data obtained can be sold. VR for up. I 100% believe it. I 100% believe it. Yeah, I predicted that Castra is the next system because there is a jump point from, I believe, Nyx to Castra. And the thing about Castra is that there are 2 planets in the Castra system. The Castra system is an old UEE base. It has some freaking stunning vistas in Cascom. It's a great idea for them to go because it's simple: 2 planets, 1 star. So that's why I think the Castra system is the next system in the game. All right, let's go over the 30K thing. Mutiny, is mutiny the proper term? There's a term that might be the term. Yeah, there's a term that's used by military for when their forces go rogue. I think it might be mutiny. You're right. Insubordination, maybe. A coup, yeah. I mean, kind of, but we're not talking about like forces turning on each other. We're talking about disobeying a direct order and then just flying back to the base and waiting to be arrested. You know. By the way, they freed the when the last Mezzer died, they freed the squadron of bomber pilots. They weren't killed. They were being held for trial that never came. And when it all came crumbling down, they were released. And in fact, are even to this day considered heroes of the UEE for their willingness to obey a immoral order, at the very least. So, it's treason then. Yes, it's mutiny, especially if they're Navy, which ignore orders is mutiny. So it's mutiny. Okay. Hey, Jim B. Good. Jim B. Good. So, the thing I want to talk about the 30Ks, pretty quickly. The 30Ks, the CIGs come out and said that there was a 30K issue they were looking into that was causing more 30Ks than they thought. They looked into it, realized they figured out what it was. They realized they didn't catch it before everything else because it was more random, but because now they have more data, they're able to find it. And they're working on a fix, and as of yesterday, or 2 days ago, they put in a hot fix to fix it. And as of yesterday, they confirmed that the 30K fix they put in fixed 99% of the 30Ks that they were seeing that were not due to server issues. It also apparently helped about 44% of the other 30K issues. There's some percentages they threw around there, but essentially they said almost all of the 30Ks from now on are likely just server crashes. Because remember, a 30K just means that you lose connection from the server, not necessarily that you lose connection, that you don't. It's not necessarily that you that the server crashed. It could be that your game client can't communicate because of a firewall or something else like that. So. Oh, Toller. Dereliction of duty. Okay, that's probably the term. I will go to the Star Citizen subreddit even today. There's a misguided belief on that subreddit that I deleted my account and I never go there anymore because I got angry at them a year ago or 2 years ago. I was a little over emotional. I agree with that. I was probably shouldn't have done what I did. But the reason why I deleted my account there was not because I just didn't want to do it. I just I don't want to have to deal with people knowing who I am when I post. I mean, the people who know me know who I am on Reddit, but I don't bother explaining who I am. I just post like a regular user. So. So that's the big news for the 30Ks. 30Ks are improving. So, and of course, as you should know, that the 30K issue should be completely resolved. Not that 30K should stop working, but the problems of the 30Ks, where you'll lose all your money and that kind of stuff, should be resolved with one of the iterations of iCache. If not the first iteration, shortly thereafter, simply because of the nature of what iCache does. Any word on when they're dropping the new Vandal, Blade, and Glaive ships? Let's take a look. My resolution is to only drunk post. All right, so vehicle content EU. Nothing there. There's some unannounced stuff, so they could be in there, but usually if they're not, if it's dealing with the vandal, it should also be in Squadron 42. Vehicle content US. Nope, there's a Squadron 42 pass for enemy ships, but 27 weeks, and doesn't say specifically. That's only Squadron 42. Unannounced. There's one that says unannounced 3 weeks, sometime in October it's being released. So yeah, there's nothing nothing firm about that. There is one that's on the Vandal fleet, and the Vandal fleet's getting done sometime in Q1. So implementing and polishing and optimizing all features required to bring the various ships of the Vandal fleet to gold standard. Yeah, let me show you guys. So this is the PU. They have the Vehicle Content Team EU and Vehicle Content Team US. And there are some in the Vehicle Content Team US dealing with the enemy ships and the Vandal fleet. So they are here. So could be soon, but we'll see if there's some more information about that. That's a good expectation, not to expect anything in the progress tracker. I wouldn't expect anything. Nothing on this is definitive. Like, none of this stuff is like 100% going to happen. Remember that. That's probably going to be moving. But I do appreciate the progress tracker for being able to see where things are and what they're working on. Is the Tonk still alive there? Yes, it is, baby. Tumbril Nova Tonk. Tonk. Do I need to do this? Tonk. Enhance. Enhance. I've enhanced it as hard as... Tonk. Say it with me, chat. Tonk. Tonk. Tumbril Nova Tonk. It's canon, y'all. It's canon. It's canon with a cannon. What do you know about the Banu Merchantman having a Banu Defender that can integrate itself dock into the BMM hull? That's a rumor that's been floating around. There is no substantiated rumor, substantiation for that rumor as of yet. I wouldn't be surprised if something like that were to come up because of the rework of the Banu Merchantman, but we'll see. I feel like after Nyx, they may give us Orion because they didn't say that they'll be releasing Squadron 42 chapter by chapter to backers. Well, here's the thing: chapter by chapter does not mean mission by mission. It means more like game by game. Squadron 42 is its own game, but it was originally designed as a big stack of it's this huge stack of information of like gameplay, and then they decided to break that up into multiple games. So there's going to be 3 chapters, which are essentially 3 games, 3 40-hour 20 to 40-hour games. And the first one, which is just called Squadron 42, is coming out sometime in the future. So I would expect that once Squadron 42, the first one, comes out, we'll get the Odin system. But in the meantime, we know that they're working on the Odin system. And let me explain to you guys why Castra is a big thing for me. Let's take a look at the LZ1 team. So, cave improvements, hacking, unannounced, Orson, miscellaneous support, bug fixing, pyro space stations, right? Unannounced, Orson V2, Ruin Stations, and Garages Utilitarian. So we still have unannounced and unannounced. So one unannounced is coming out, or is going to be finished sometime in Q1. So we'll probably hear about it sometime in Q1 if it's still good. But the other unannounced is sometime in the Q3. Okay, so that's the landing zone team. Now let's look at the planet content team. Stanton System version 2. Right there. Stanton Asteroids, which is something they already have on the roadmap, so it makes sense. Cave improvements on the roadmap. Harvestables and Minables, miscellaneous support, Sharp Angular Asteroid Pack. Nix 1, Nix 2, and Nix 3, all on there. They already have the names there. They're ready to go. They're ready to talk about it. They have Pyro System, Planet, and Mission Setup. And then they have unannounced and unannounced. Now, they've broken up Nix into 3 parts right here, 2, 1, and 3. And they have Pyro System, Planet Moon, and Mission Setup, but this is just the setup for the Pyro mission, their Pyro Station. We know that Pyro is pretty much done. A lot of the actual building of the system is done. They're waiting on back-end support for a lot of that stuff. But they have art assets which need to be produced for this unannounced system. This definitely has to do with something with it, and they're both coming out at the same time. And if you look at Nix has also done the same thing, and they broke it up by planets. Now, what I did was I looked at 2 things. One, it had to have a jump point connected to one of the systems, which will be in game by the time this unannounced system is done. So that narrowed down the list. 2, I said it had to be medium or large jump points only, because I would rather bet that they don't want to have a system that's only accessible by small jump points into the game at that point. Who knows? I could be wrong. And 3, it had to have only 2 planets in the system, which sounds like, well, there's not a lot of planets. There's like not a lot of systems with 2 planets, but there's actually a lot of systems with 2 planets. However, with those factors factored in, the only system that matched those criteria was the Castra system. And it has 2 planets, Castra 1 and Cascom, which is a former military base, which was then converted for civilian use, and still there. It's a kind of a minor outpost, a small landing zone in the region. It's not huge yet, but so that is why I think Castra will be the next system after Nix. Current asteroids look, yeah, they look really old. They've said that they wanted some special Banu Defender interaction with the Merchantman, but they didn't say exactly what. Exactly. We don't have any definitive that it's a docking that'll turn the Banu Merchantman into a carrier. We don't know that. Castra is linked with Nix. Let me pull up the... I'm going to do something that's like sacrilege. And pull up... Edge, because Microsoft Edge is the only one that works with the Arc. Chrome chugs horribly. So let's go to Castra. So here's Stanton, Pyro, and Nix, right? So let's turn on large and medium jump points. We went through almost all of them, and here's Odin over here, which is connected to Nix. So I'm assuming that Castra should be ready before, because like Tanga system, I don't think has 2 planets. It has 1 or none. There's no planets. So, yeah, it has no planets. They have an asteroid belt. That's it. Oh, they have 1 planet. Tango 1. So, I mean, there's a lot of planet systems that only have 1 planet. But that's only 1, not multiples. So, we're looking at the Tohill system, no. The Bremen system, no. The Castra system, yes. And the best part about the Castra system is Castra has a jump point to Pyro and to Nix. So it has a large jump point to Pyro and a large jump point to Nix. I believe it's large. Yeah, large jump point to Pyro and a large jump point to Nyx. So it has two systems it's connected to, creating a triangle, which is interesting. And Castra, Big Son, has Castra 1 and Capcom. And that's it. There are no moons that I can tell of these systems. They just have 2 planets. So it fits all of the criteria that I laid out based off of what the information we have. Now, does that mean that this is 100% proof that I am saying that Castra will be the system after Nyx? No. I'm saying that based off of the evidence that I have, that is my belief. That is not something I would say, but CIG said that Castra is the next system after Nyx. CIG did not say that. I said that. I could be wrong. But we'll see. It's the most likely reality based off of all the information I've been able to gather. So jump points are going to have size limitations. Yes, based off the size of your ships. Now, here's the important thing to understand. When we're talking about the size limitations of ships, small jump points are supposed to be able to fit freelancers. So if a small jump point is able to fit a freelancer comfortably, then you can imagine it can fit pretty much anything else. Medium jump points probably can fit up to an Idris comfortably. And large jump points can probably fit multiple Bengals comfortably. Like, huge. So that's really the differences between them. And then I'm sure that, for CIG's standardization purposes, they have to be the exact same size or similar sizes. But the idea is that, like, they're all varying sizes, which allows for different kinds of travel. So, but yeah. I predicted it. I'm predicting it, chat. Prediction made. Thank you very much for that prime there, Mike Who. The most important is the Tonk. Yes, the Tonk is the most important. She must be protected at all costs. Have they changed from the direction that not all small ships will be able to utilize jump points? No, I mean we still have there's some ships that just can't use jump drives at all. Like the Merlin or the Argo MPUV. Those are not designed to go through jump points. I don't even think the 85X has a jump point on it. But I think anything that can, almost anything that can have a quantum drive, which maybe even the 85X, since the 85X can, anything that can have a quantum drive can also have a jump drive, is what they've kind of said. So let's get some more beers in chat for y'all. I'm watching both of them, Mike. Yeah. And we're always told size doesn't matter. And we were told size doesn't matter. They were lying to you. All right. Any other questions, guys? Feel free to ask them. I'll do my best to answer them. Ask anything you like, and I'll do my best to answer. Sometimes I'll be wrong, but I'll answer them best I can. Oh, I will also say that this week is going to be a little bit different in terms of Captain's Table. We are going to have a Captain's Table. We're going to have Crucian Gaming and someone from the Recurators, I forgot that exact name, we'll find that out, who to talk about the Daymar Rally. So we're going to talk about what the Daymar Rally is, how it's run, the events. We'll talk about like the future of the Daymar Rally and how these folks would like to see events like the Daymar Rally incorporated into things like the lore or into the game itself. So, thank you. It is my birthday today. It's my birthday. Thank you, Gate Shark. How's the 40k army going? Slow. Here, let me show you the 40k army. So this isn't my best work, but this is my latest dude I've created. some tiger stripes on him. But it's a he's supposed to be a veteran sergeant, but I can also kind of use him as a commander. So. And so what I did, which is actually pretty cool, and it's kind of hard to see it, but on his armor, you notice that it's glistening a little bit. What I did is I took some metallic paints and I dry brushed metallic paints on it. So the armor looks a little bit more shimmery, as if it's, you know, metallic. And it looks pretty good. But as of the end of 2021, all of my guard army is finished, except for a couple of models, which I will probably not paint for a while. And of course, 1 or 2 units of Bulgrins, which I have been base painted, but have not been painted yet. Do you think that a ship larger ship can navigate smaller jump points uncomfortably? Possibly. You got to remember that, like, you hit the sides, you blow up. It's, you know, it's operation. It's operation with your ship. So you can't hit the walls or you'll destabilize or explode. So you can try. I'm sure CIG will not stop you from driving a large ship through a small jump point, but you just explode. Yeah, the reason why you don't see the YouTube chat on the scroll is because I don't have it working properly. But I do see YouTube chat here on the right, so I can see it here. And I figured since this is mostly for, like, I put this all mostly up there for YouTube purposes. YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can probably see the chat already on YouTube if you want to watch the chat. And it's, of course, on here. This is the Twitch chat, which you wouldn't be able to see otherwise. Are you winning, son? Yes. For the Emperor, Dad. Thank you for telling me. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your birthday wishes, guys. Okay. Is YouTube chat not working? Okay, yeah, there's that. Do you think, what do you think of Magnus being after Nyx? I just joined. Sorry, it was already said. No, I think Castra, or, did I say Castra? Yeah, it's Castra. I think Castra is the thing after Nyx. Because it has a jump point to Nyx and to Pyro, and the reason why I say that's likely is because on the Planet Dev team, there are 2 specific unannounced features which are only for Star Citizen, not for Squadron 42. And the way that they've done this, the planets laid out in the progress tracker, they have Nyx 2, 1, and 3. So if those 2 are planets, which I assume they are planets, then those are 2 planets. And I looked for any systems that are connected to the main systems which we'll be putting in that have 2 planets in them and have jump points to them. And there is one system that stood out, which is the Castra system. It has 2 large jump points from both Nyx and from Pyro. So it has connection to both of those systems. And it's a relatively small system. It fits role of being kind of more of a frontier. It has a beautiful vista for its landing zone at Cascom, but it's basically just an outpost. It's an old former military outpost that's been converted for civilian use. So it's not the epic vistas of, or the bustling, sprawling centers of commerce of Stanton. It's not the wild fucking west of the Pyro system. It's not the hippie commune, with a bunch of dead worlds of Nyx. It's just a frontier town. So the Pioneer is announced. I will see how that goes. Castac system. One will be put in. There's no Castac system. The system where Castac Arms is in was originally out of Vega, and there's another place. I got to look it up where it is now, though. Appreciate the work with the Mezzer Dynasty. I actually became sympathetic to Ivar after your work. He's better developed now than just Space Hitler. Yeah, he's a lot more complicated than Space Hitler. You got to remember that Ivar, as a character in the story, he believes what he's doing. He believes what he does is right, which is what makes all good villains good. He saved the UEE or the UPE. He was a good general or a good colonel, good captain, then colonel, then general. And a lot of the things he did was for the right reasons. It's just not the way you're supposed to do it. And his paranoia let him take over. He's essentially a good soldier who became obsessed with protecting everyone. And you can't protect everyone. Not to protect everyone and also maintain a semblance of freedom, which is one of the reasons. Yeah, it means we ain't telling you. It could be other things. I could be completely wrong. Those unannounced features could literally just be jumbo ball pits. And I would have no idea because they're unannounced. So it's something they don't want to talk about. And I can believe the reason why they would maybe plan the Castra system is because of its connection to all of the other systems. But they're probably waiting for things like, will jump points work? Can we build a large jump point? Will it destroy the servers? Can we make it look good? So it's just art assets. So I'm assuming it's just going to be a pass of art assets on the Castra system to the similar degree that we got art assets passed, like art concept passed, or art assets done on every planet or system that we've been getting for the last however many planets and moons. So appreciate. Oh yeah, you said there that. There's a ship that's unannounced that's like 5 to 17 members with 30+ weeks sprint attached to it. Trying to theorize what that might be. Probably a large capital ship. Could be the king ship. Let me look at that ship. Is it under concept or regular? There's a 24 weeks that has 4 team members. It says unannounced. It's just Star Citizen, so it's probably not a king ship. Remember that on this same thing, it's not necessarily a ship. One of them is shield emitters. And so these unannounced things could also not be ships, but be components. Any details from CIG describing the differences between quantum drives versus the jump drives? What about the effect of fuel mechanic? Nothing on the fuel mechanic. They've jumped back and forth on that, to it being hydrogen fuel, to having its own fuel, to being quantum fuel. I think now it's supposed to be quantum fuel, also goes through your jump fuel. But jump drives are not, they are separate devices, and the way that they work are separate. So a jump drive does not just warp you out of a system whenever you want. This isn't Elite Dangerous. Where the jump drives work is that they open jump points. So you go through a jump point with a jump drive. Now, not all jump drives, you don't necessarily need a jump drive to leave a jump, possibly, if that jump point is actually developed and has a jump gate. Jump gates are things that allow for, I'm assuming, more efficient travel with fuel efficiency. It's essentially just a giant jump drive that is attached to a station, which is covering the entrance to the jump point that allows for it to open and close. So that could allow for non-jump drive ships to jump between systems. However, I think that it's mostly just like a fuel efficiency thing, where like that'll open it, but it'll make it not cost as much energy or fuel. And then you go through the jump point, you fly through it rather than had like a quantum jump or something like that. So you're going to be using your hydrogen fuel flying through the jump points themselves. So, and the way that the lore works is that all that jump drives are an attachment to quantum drives, because the first jump drives were literally just busted quantum drives, or just quantum drives that were broken in a little way that you had an off and on switch to change it. Because the person who discovered this, Nick Croshaw, was an engineer and scientist and a test pilot who was trying to look into a system, to a phenomena in the Sol system. This is before they knew what jump points were, that they called the Nesso Triangle around I think Neptune's moon of Nesso. And he opened up the jump. He figured out that what was causing these ships to just disappear entirely from scanners with no wreckage, with no evidence whatsoever, was some sort of singularity. And he figured out that there was a consistent variable with all the ships, that they had similar malfunctions in their quantum engines, which caused them to essentially, they flew too close to the jump point, and that malfunction activated the jump point and sucked them in. And so Nick basically hit his own jump drive with the same problems, and hit a switch to turn those problems on, and voila, opening up the jump points. So then he became the first person to jump through them. So it's kind of the lore behind it. Yeah, the 24-week sprint. I don't know if that's going to happen though. It's just SEO only. The small home outpost one, does that specifically say player? Where's that under? Tech team? No. Oh, it's under module. Small home outpost. A small home for players to live in shelter. They consist in central hub with a few optional internal and external modules. They provide the basic necessities for support of a small group of people for an indefinite amount of time. That doesn't necessarily mean you can build small outposts. It just means that, for instance, those outposts where you have those emergency shelters, those emergency shelters might be spawnable in the sense that you can go into them, go into the bed, log out, log back in, go get food from the pantry, basically turning the emergency shelters into an actual livable shelter. That's also going to take place over 28 weeks, so... Because it's not talking about towns, it's talking about like an outpost. It's a small home outpost. So I think people are probably making a mountain out of molehill out of that one. And remember that just because it says it will be done in July does not mean that in Q3 or Q4 we get outposts, though I'm sure they'd want to do that. Dynamic environment, okay. When is ISC supposed to return? I'm assuming not. It's obviously didn't happen today, but I'm assuming either next week or the week after next. It could be at the end of January, but we'll see. After the next briefing room. Ooh, Dell. That burn. That sick burn. Hopefully, Ray, that answers your question about the quantum drives. For those of you guys who don't know, the briefing room was canceled. Delayed indefinitely, like everything else. After one episode, yeah. After nobody asked for it, they decided they're going to do it, then delayed it a year, then released one episode, and then delayed it and now canceled it again. What? Do I think we'll get the Space Crab Queen when Pyro launches? Yes, Queen! Yes! All hail the Space Pyro Crab Queen. The Queen of Pyro. We will serve her, as we should. Yeah, 100%. Oh, baby. I would love to be able to kill me some Pyro Crabs. I 100% believe that CIG is planning and executing are two different things, to have at least some fauna ready by the time they go into Pyro. We saw the Pyro Crab used in a video where they dropped a model of the Pyro Crab into the background while they were looking at other things. They just had left it in the background, either as an Easter egg intentionally or an accident. But the Pyro Crab was there. I'm assuming that there'll be some sort of mission from a scientist or from a hunter that you can take to go kill some Pyro Crabs for study, or to kill the Pyro Crab Queen. Going down, imagine this, going down into the depths of a cave with a small squad and having to find and defeat all of these Pyro Crabs, and then find the biggest of them all, the Pyro Crab Queen. Get some. Take off, nuke the site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure. It was a perfect outline of the concept art. Yeah, it was. Is the Grey Cat Cygnus still coming? I think that's a Squadron 42 asset, but I'm assuming, yeah. I'm assuming it's coming out when they finish Squadron 42. For those who guys know, that's the mining crab that exists. They like the crabs in Star Citizen. But those things taste great with some melted butter, the most melted butter, and you get some of that salt from Spectrum. Wow, perfect. We can use the old mining spiders to harvest pyro crabs. Brain. Yeah, it was a tick, but it's huge. Thank you, Pickle. Let's do some genetic experiments on the Pyro Crab Queen and on our endeavors, making a deadly weapon that incubates the host of humans, only to burst out of the chest, rapidly maturing into killing machines. Oh, it's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. That's what it's going to be. Long live the hive mind of the Pyro Crab Queen. Yas, Queen, lay your eggs in my belly. That is what the Pyro Queen will be. Loken, you came in at a weird time. Happy birthday, Bartender Man, 17 months. Thank you so much, Loken. How you doing, buddy? I think I said Maiku. Starship Troopers, but with crabs, basically. The only good crab is slightly roasted with a little zest of lemon and some good tartar sauce. I'm doing good. Doing good. Oh, I should probably turn off those for right now. because they're not active in this scene. So I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy. I want to make people lose their effects, the menace. I would say I would like to keep her children as pets and raise them as my own. Foraging rare cocktail ingredients from the most devastating predators in the verse. Dude, you know the Hurstons are going to send you out to find the most rarest ingredients known to mankind in the most deadly locations. Why? Because they have a giant fuck-off golden palace that they rule their entire planet from. That they have so much of a planet that they have enough space they can just dump garbage on it and still have enough to control their own private mega building. That is what you call disgustingly wealthy. Hey, Destroyer. Totally, thank you so much for gifting all of those subs. You're a maniac! Maniac! Logan, you don't get it. Hurston trashes their planet because they can. They don't give a fuck about their planet. They give zero fucks about it. It is a giant strip mining operation and weapons testing ground. And they don't care about the environment. They don't care about the people who live there. They don't care about what it looks like. They just want to strip mine everything, and if anything they can't strip mine, just turn into craters. They give no fucks. Do I think landing pads on the Hurston building will be made usable? 100%. I'm sure they were waiting for things like a reputation to come in, but I'm assuming that there'll be more ranks in the Hurston Dynamics you can talk to other than Constantine Hurston. I'm sure there'll be other Hurston family members and eventually maybe even the Colonel himself that you can do missions for. And as you unlock more reputation, you'll probably be able to purchase a flat in the Hurston building, the Hurston Dynamics building, which then allows you to land on the landing pads. 3 measures of Gordon's, 1 vodka, half a measure of Pyro Crab Queen. Call it Pyro's Fury. There we go. I'm waiting for things like gameplay to come in. Yeah. Hey, they gave us bagheads. I think we can forgive them. There's an active insurrection going on in Hurston, by the way, guys. When you do those missions, some of those missions to clear out stations, like, they're illegal missions. They're ex malo bonum, righteous raid, call to action. These are missions that are designed for you to go into an area and kill a bunch of Hurston security so that ex malo bonum can come in and do other things. But it's mostly he's just making a point. He or she or they are making a point. There is active insurrections. The world's all tied up in stocks. Yeah. When I was a boy, every little kid wanted to be a sword fisherman and a pyro crab harpooner. Yes. So everything stays spawn. Could we set a queen down on some planet and have her overrun it with babbies? Yes, probably. I mean, if they manage to make the proper AI behavior, yeah, we could probably do it. Well, I'm gotta do something real quick. What's this Jian for crab, though? That's a good question. It actually might be Banu. The Banu Minutemen, which is what it was originally called. The Defender is the space crab. That sounds like the proto-molecule maneuver. Yup. Imagine a civil war in Lorville. Too close to reality? Maybe, but I would be really down with it. An event in-game where there's a civil war in Lorville where you have to throw in with either the rebels or the Hurstons. You fly near like a base. You sit there. You stand there. You approach with the right reputation. You approach the right person, and they go, "Oh, you're here to help us." And then you get thrown into like, "Go clear the streets of Lorville for us." Fucking A, man. I mean, that's like what I just described is 100% possible with this technology CIG has already developed. It just would run like garbage in the current patch. The hilarity of herding a crab queen into a ship. Yeah. So will we be able to go to Earth and bring our pets to space with us? Yeah. Yeah. Don't ask if how you could kill your pets, but I think there are some binary systems, I think one at least, that are on the brink of supernova. Do you think they'll include some verse-wide events for that? Yeah, for sure. They'll do some sort of supernova, gonna destroy everything in the planet in the system. You're gonna have to either run for aid or run for evacuation and get everybody out. Yeah. Now I want to see dog-fitted spacesuits. Thanks. Yeah, probably. Or just bubbles. Just give them bubbles. That's probably the simplest solution for CIG, is to have a bubble that's big enough for the largest pet, and you just like put them in a bubble. and so the AI will wander around in the bubble, bouncing into things. Indra, yeah. Where the missing Carrick showed up. Anyone know what system might be next after Pyro? Nyx. Nyx is the one after Pyro. Space dog ball. Doge ball. Just because that's the simplest solution. A, your pet's not dying in the vacuum of space. B, you don't have to build fitted spacesuits for every animal. And C, it'd be funny as hell. I have my pet iguana. Throw him in the space ball. Come here, Rover. We'll put you in the space ball. He's trying to lick your face while you're flying, and he's just bouncing the ball against your HUD, so you just see the ball bouncing up over your face. Yeah, and that rescue balls like NASA did for the shuttle. Yeah. Stuff bounties in the ball. Yeah, Destroyer, 100%. It's going to be Nyx. Nyx is the system after Pyro. The reason why we know that Nyx is the system after Pyro, other than the fact that they put it on the progress tracker, is that we have Levski and Delamar. Delamar and Levski are for Nyx, not for Stanton. That's not supposed to be in the system. They just had it done, so they put it into Stanton. So when they get Pyro in, I'm assuming that Delamar is going to go bye-bye and end up in Nyx. Without adding them. In all reality, rescue balls are a thing that NASA was planning on doing for the astronauts as a way to escape space if a ship blew up. That would give them some oxygen and some, basic. It was easy for them to inflate and get in, kind of thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if rescue balls were were something you do for pets in the case of an emergency for evacuation in Star Citizen. I'm not talking like a giant boy bubble, but like you get a large one that's about the size of a big dog, and you put them in there. Space dodgeball. Dogeball. Oh, how's that 0G handball game? Oh, we're still working on it. We haven't even practiced it. I might take Friday instead of doing work with like doing the co-op stream. I might do that. Might tap Diabolus if he's ready, and we can go try that out. That's pretty dark there, Mike. Not gonna lie. If they create black holes, they'll become suicide cliffs of the verse. 50% depression, 50% curiosity. All right. So, we're going to talk about the aftermath of the fall of the Mezzers. Now, because it's pretty cool. Castak Arms Star Citizen. It has to do with Castak Arms specifically. So, Castak Arms was created in Virgil, or certainly after the Virgil system to the Vandal, the Vegan system, and the planet of Selene. It was established in 2738. So we're talking towards the reign of Galar, toward the end of the reign of Galar Mezzer. It was designed to build weapons and armor for the local militia. So it's essentially a nationalized weapons and armor manufacturer for the state of Selene, which is a planet in the Vega system. And it's Thaddeus DeWitt. I love that name. It's Castak was formed specifically to keep unique weapons, to build unique weapons to help defend against the Vandal invasion. Now, long story, they got caught into some shenanigans, had to go public. They're still doing great. The reason why I bring up Castak is because at the end of the Mezzer era, not all of the Mezzer's followers seem to have been just disappearing. At least one, by the name of Ariane Effendi, was still around. The reason why I think Ariane Effendi was a Mezzer supporter was because Ariane Effendi was controlling Locke, which is the Idris 4 in the Idris system. Locke is the planet in the Idris system. And Ariane Effendi is described as a dictatorial ruler ruling during the early 29th century. Castak was a pivotal role in overthrowing this ruler. Now, that makes sense. Early 29th century is, in historical terms, the 2800s. So if we're talking about 2792 being the fall of the Mezzers, that means that possibly up until the first decade of the new century, we still have some Mezzer holdouts in some places. Because just because you shoot the Mezzer doesn't mean you have power. I wouldn't be surprised if there were splinter elements of the Mezzer military and regime, especially his powerful supporters, hold up in systems all over the Empire. So with Locke being a huge system for the Mezzers, it's like the Mezzer planet, because Ira Mezzer made his name on Locke. I'm assuming that Ariane Effendi is probably distant relative of the Mezzers, or just fanatically held on to it. And with the munitions factories in Locke, which is of course where the Idris is built, hence the name Idris, you're not gonna want to direct assault Idris. So I have a feeling that what happened was several systems were effectively out of UEE control and negotiated or had a tense stalemate with their neighbors throughout the fall, after the fall of the last Mezzer and throughout the 29th century. Now, Locke is an interesting place. It is a place that was invaded by the Tavaran in the First Tavaran War. And it's named after Locke. I forgot her first name. Hold on. I'll look it right up. Rachel Locke. Rachel Locke was one of the residents of Idris IV during the invasion. She actually pulled together a bunch of the local residences and turned them into a fighting force. She was not an experienced soldier, had no experiences in fighting, but felt the need to rally humanity on Locke to fight against the Tavaran. So this group of rebels became known as the Greys and has kind of set the tone of Locke ever since. Locke has always been the home of freedom fighters, people who will fight to the last to defend their own territory. So with the fall of the Mezzers, Locke becomes an interesting case study because Ariane Effendi is in control. If I'm right, Ariane Effendi is a former Mezzer associate who's in control of Locke, refusing to give it up. But some sort of negotiation is taking place so that they don't mess with the UEE, or they trade with the UEE so they can get Idris parts for the UEE, and they don't try to invade Locke. So they're just kind of an unstable piece, or like a weird piece. But the opposition leader on Locke, whose name is Omar Astancio, does what Rachel Locke did, formed a militia, and what he used almost exclusively was Castak arms, weapons, and armor, because it was available and cheap. In the end of that war, Ariane Effendi was deposed, and Astancio became the de facto leader. And as a thank you for Castak arms supplying them with weapons, Astancio sent the official flag of Locke's new government to the Castak arms as a thank you. The flag now hangs framed in their headquarters. So, pretty cool, right? Like Castak Arms, the weapons manufacturer that you probably use in the verse, with the weapons that were probably built by that time, were used to overthrow the last Mezzer elements of the Mezzer regime in the lore 150 years before this. See, that's the thing. That's a good question about the Mezzer residents. We'll see the actual Mezzer descendant seeking to gain power either publicly or behind the scenes. Fiona Mezzer, the last living Mezzer, disappeared. We don't know where she is. There's no reports of her death, no confirmations of her death. She just vanished. So, I don't think she's still alive. That's over 150 years later. Even with Star Citizen's extended lifetime period, that she would have been in her 170s at this point. Could be. We'll see. But I think it's more likely that she has children who will gain the throne. Though she could also be on ice somewhere. So we'll see. They duplicated the Romanov thing. There's a lot of duplications that you realize, yeah. So, like, you'd be like, hey, I recognize that. That's a reference, or that's a historical parallel. That's intentional. She just went after the Crab Queen. Only one of us can be Empress, lady. Crabby. She's buried in a giant stadium in the 50-yard line. Is it Fitzy in for future plot twists? Exactly. You could also with cryogenic technology as it is, you could say that she escaped to with followers who she respected, and they put her on ice into cryogenic storage, and she comes out of cryogenic storage being like, "All right, I'm back. I want my empire back." We'll see. That'd be kind of cool. She's a Fiona popsicle. Yeah. Will next come out in 2022? Possibly. Well, what will depend on if we even get Pyro in 2021. Yeah, it'll really depend on if we even get Pyro. Because if we get server meshing by the end of the year, then yeah, we'll definitely get Nyx in 2022. It's really not that complicated. Like, a lot of people don't realize what's holding Star Citizen up is the pillars. They can make these planets and systems really fucking fast. And they'll throw stuff together and throw it out there if they have a chance to. Really what they're waiting on is the back end. Back end needs to get ready. You thought I was dead, but I'm not. My name is Chris Roberts, and this... Oh, wait, no, wrong thing. Wrong thing, Paul. Given we finally have an Idris in the game, do you think Chris will stand by the statement that we won't get it until Squadron 42 releases? That was several years ago, right, if I remember. I think so, because, I'll let you guys know right now that I actually do know the entire story of Squadron 42 by accident, but I will tell you that based off of what I've heard, this is not a spoiler necessarily. At least I don't think it is, because it's been pretty obvious. A lot of Squadron 42 takes place on the Stanton, which is if you watch this vertical slice, the ship you're on, which is an Idris ship, Idris class vessel. And it plays a huge role in the story. And I think what they said specifically was that it is that because it's the set piece for Squadron 42, they don't want people to just kind of play around with it. They want people to have experience it with Squadron 42 first, and then after the fact to know about it. How did I find out by accident? It's a long story, but essentially, way back in the day, there was a leak of audio files as well as a bunch of other stuff, and a friend of mine had access to a bunch of those leaked files, at least the audio files. And I was looking for an audio clip from Tessa Bannister, who's an old mission giver, the Distress Bacon clip, so I asked him, "Hey, can you find this clip for me?" Because I could only find it on YouTube recordings of Star Citizen gameplay from 2016. And he said, sure. He went to go look. The problem is that there is no Tessa Bannister Bacon.wmv, kind of, or WAV kind of classification system in the game. It's all based off of numbers. And so we were going off of the size of the files, and slowly we started to get literal big spoilers for Squadron 42, because some of those files were just Squadron 42 files, which we found out. So. By the way, I think it's really cool. People have been pretty good about not spoiling the plot. Well, I know the plot. And I will say that knowing the plot doesn't make me not want to play it. I don't think it'll lessen my experience, really, knowing the twists and the turns of the story. because it's a branching narrative. Anybody who has ever played a Chris Roberts game knows what a branching narrative is. You screw up on this mission, guess what? Now you're on the bad path. You do well on this mission, you're on the good path. You can get back on the good path eventually. And with branching narratives, that will determine things like who lives, who dies, what's happening in the story, so on and so forth. So, I don't want Jared's job. I want Jared to keep his job. Who leaked the files? Disco Lando. By accident, and it's 100% security breach fault on CIG's fault, not Disco Lando. He posted a picture with a partial URL while playing Star Marine, which was at that point not released yet. And some internet sleuths basically backtracked that URL file and realized it was an unsecured AWS server. And that AWS server had all of the files. Everything. It was essentially a copy of the main branch build of the game. Yeah. It wasn't his fault. He was trying to do it to like, he just tweeted out a picture. No one had locked anything. It wasn't password protected. It was a security fault on CIG. Again, we're talking about CIG in like 2016, not CIG today. Very different. Yeah. Big whoops. I hope it's very different now. God damn. Can we have a cloned younger Jan Dredge Reaper to with the both booth babes asking for a friend? I don't think so. Twitter stole it. Text wars. Yeah. Yeah, he was like, this was like his first year. I think he had been there for like 3 months. And he was just doing his best to try to keep the community informed and let them know progress was being made. Again, this was before we had the roadmap. Trust me, y'all did not want to be here in 2016. 2016 was the year of no updates. Of an hour and a half long videos that said nothing. They didn't release a patch all year. I think they released 2 all year. That year sucked. I was there. Yeah. It sucked. Question: why the 890 jump pool water is that cold? Because it's not water. It's liquid nitrogen. That's a statement, not a question. Trust me, I will take CIG in 2021 versus CIG in 2016 any day of the week. Same with the game. The game's a lot better now. I wouldn't say that CIG takes an hour to do nothing. To say nothing. CIG in its live streams, here's the reality about live stream content. Like right now, we're almost heading up to the 2-hour mark for this live stream. I've said a lot. But in reality, I've said no more than just gathering some data and putting it together to tell the story of the Mezzers and some other kind of discussions. But I could easily have knocked that down and done a lecture kind of more succinctly in probably about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. But we've been talking for 2 hours. And the reason why is because in live content, length is more important necessarily than good content. You're not going to get good content all the time. But the longer you stream, the more people watch, but also the more things people can say, and the more people will find out what's going on. So you can have a hour-long question and answer session with developers who become more comfortable with the questions, and eventually will open up and talk more about what's going on behind the scenes, or get to the point. And sometimes some developers need that hour because they need to take 30 minutes to explain concepts that we don't understand. But sometimes it's an hour of nothing. Everyone should watch the 2016 holiday live stream. That's all I'm going to say. Watch the 2016 Star Citizen holiday live stream. It is one of 2 videos which you will not see on the Star Citizen YouTube that were created by Star Citizen. Almost everything that CIG has ever done is on the Star Citizen YouTube, except for 2 videos. That one, and I think there's one inside Star Citizen that got deleted because it was totally panned. Around the verse. It was around the verse. Crotch spider is best spider. Yes. To this day, I still think of the crotch spider incident that was the best. Had me in tears. Yeah. So bad in a good way. Yeah. Around the verse back in the day made you feel like you were so much information happening week to week. Fast forward to 2021, you're like, yeah, I get it. If I recall correctly, 2.9 into 3.0 was that year. Yes, it was. They went from 2.63 to 2.7, which was supposed to be the social module, and then that evolved to 3.0. End of 2016 was 3.0. No, it was 2015? I always get the dates up. Those dates always get mixed up, is when 3.0 comes out. I always say 2016, but I think it might have actually been 2015. You develop thick skin if you've been following from 2012 to 2014. Thank you for that $10 there, Brandon. I did not see that. Gosh dang, man. Thank you so much for that $10 on YouTube. Number 1 fan, indeed. I forgot how many people see the newish to the game. Get off my lawn. I'll run you over with my gray cat in Area 18. Or, grenades. Oh, God, grenades. Back in 2016. 2017 it was just bad. Yeah, it was okay. The Banner Merchantman is sexy. Just wish they had new pass overdone. I wish they haven't even started it yet. So. But thank you, Brandon, man, 1707, for that $10 on YouTube. 3.1 was March 2018. So, yeah, 17 was... yes. So we basically covered 2 things with the end of 30Ks. One, they added a new pass, which eliminated like 99% of the of this one specific thing that was causing 30Ks. And then they've also done some hotfixes to improve server stability so that you won't go down as much. It's like now basically if you get a 30K, it's when the server is crashing. And so it should have improved that significantly. And the other thing to talk about the end of 30Ks is not the end of 30Ks necessarily, because 30K is simply an error code. It's not a specific bug. The real end of 30Ks will come with iCache. Because a lot of people don't realize this, is that iCache tracks all information in the verse as to where it is and as to its state, right? That's its job. So with the implementation of iCache, it goes to figure that iCache will do its best to put you back where it last found you if you crash out of the game. Now, if you crash out of the game because of a 30K, you're still just crashing out of the game. The information of where you were should still be saved on the iCache server, not on the game server that crashed you out. So when you get back into the game, because of iCache, should pull your location from iCache where you last were logged out, which should put you back to where you last were before the server crash. Now, it's not perfect. It could probably put you back maybe 10 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute, plus whatever the last time it saved the state of where the location was before the server crash. But it's better than losing everything. So, yeah, 30Ks will go from being the thing that everyone screams about because they lost everything to being like, fuck, the server went down. That's just fucking fine. I'll go get something to drink, come back and pop back on, and I'll go do my things now. Their leaked interest with HCS Voice Pass is a completely different experience, especially with Vega. Yeah. Was it only hangers? Was it 15 is only hangers? Because I could have sworn the dogfight module came out in 15. The Air Arena Commander came out in 2015. Racing, yeah. What's a good resource for lore outside of RSI.com? StarCitizen.tools. There you go, Mike. That link right there. For those of you on YouTube. Oh, I didn't see the question. For some reason, didn't scroll down far enough. Question: do you think that the second or third Squadron 42 game will be about fighting the race of the turtle people who don't want us to meet? Oh, you mean the Krithok? Maybe. Whatever it is, they wrote it long time ago to take place concurrently with the Star Citizen universe at the time, and now Star Citizen universe has moved way the hell on, so it's probably more a prequel to Star Citizen now, but Kerthunk, yeah. Any other sites? There's not really a ton of other sites. Most of the sites, you can go, like there's Star Citizen History. You can just Google Star Citizen History. There's a site that has that, but I don't think it's really well maintained in terms of updated. The lore is more curated on Star Citizen Tools. Galactipedia is pretty good. The best places to go are either Galactipedia or the Tools site, and the reason why is because they usually have links to the sources that they talk about it, which will pull it up from RSI. No, I've seen the players use the Idris, not the Javelin. So my buddy won a headset. How much do you think it'll be worth in 50 years? A headset? Oh, a headset from who? From like the Asperia, the Asperia headset? I don't know. It's an A20, so I don't know. All right, guys, I think we're going to call that a night. We've had plenty of awesome discussions. If you guys missed it, it'll be live on YouTube right after this. And we talked about the fall of the Mezzers, the story kind of leading up to the universe, because like the fall of the Mezzers is the beginning of the Star Citizen universe as we know it. That from there you have the formation of most of the ship's companies that we know today. Most of the manufacturing and weapons companies all come from that period of time towards the end of the Mezzers and the beginning of 2951 now. So thank you guys again. Happy New Year. If I hadn't seen you before, it was here. Thank you guys for the well wishes for my birthday, because today is my birthday. Stay safe, stay healthy, and like I say every time, hope to see you guys again soon. But if I don't, hope to see you someday in the black. I guess.